conversation. Gillian, how would you describe the regulatory environment in the cannabis universe in general? I mean, the industry is no longer in its infancy. So with that maturity, one would think regulations have evolved or are evolving. And are there, say, the newly legal states, are they kind of aligning more their regulations more with mature states? Or are the regulators learning from the past mistakes, and are we seeing a whole new set of regulations kind of evolve out of these newly legal states? I mean, I guess who's leading who, I guess, is the first part of that question.
I think everyone's learning from everyone. And it's important for your listeners to understand, if you've seen one state, you've seen one state. They are all still very different. I came into my role perhaps naively thinking that I would be able to help get rid of some of the heterogeneity and create some standard, policies and regulations across states as we learn about best practices. And I've learned very quickly that that is not the result of regulators disagreeing. A lot of regulators do agree on where they think the best practice might be, but then they've got to get all of their state legislatures to agree. And that's where the challenge is. So I really think, a takeaway for your listeners is that we probably won't see standardization across states in very many areas until we have federal minimum standards that people have to adhere to. That's going to be the way we're going to get folks on board. But we have veteran states that are constantly evolving. Colorado and Washington still see lots of bills about this every legislative session. We have new states that are advancing in certain policy areas. And I think the take home is states are creating markets that match their values in their state. So some states value small business or equity operated businesses, and we're seeing their policies really try to craft a market for that. Some states have a core focus on public health and consumer safety. We're seeing their states craft a market for that. Some states favor big business, and we're seeing, their policies favor that. So every state has their own flavor. And I think what we're learning through that is the type of policies that can get you the market you want based on what your state values are. All states have a focus on consumer safety, and Morgan and I talk about this a lot. It's important, and there are challenges to that focus right now with federal prohibition and with the hemp landscape. And we haven't talked a lot about the hemp landscape, but I have to talk about it a little because that is the number one issue facing regulators. We have spent a lot of time crafting these tightly regulated markets that are trying to advance consumer safety and make products available. And almost overnight, hemp was legalized federally without a federal regulator over finished products. And unless a state has acted, there are no regulations over the finished products that are in those markets. Those products can go between states. There's interstate commerce. Those products can be sold online. Those products, unless a state has acted, are not tested for contaminants. They are not subjected to labeling, packaging, consumer awareness type regulations. They are not subjected to advertising regulations. And so we're seeing a landscape that is really upending what regulators have tried to do, which is keep consumers safe, keep these products out of the hands of youth, create access without creating, some of the potential negative and adverse effects. So I think that's the number one issue facing regulators. Second is probably lab testing, which I've talked a little bit about. I think we're seeing states come up with some innovations there in terms of reference labs, in terms of round robin testing approaches, et cetera. But it's tough when the industry is evolving so quickly. The industry is definitely ahead of science and policy, and so that creates a tough regulatory landscape.
You've been watching a sneak peek of the next step in cannabis laws and regulations. Click on the link in the description